Hello and welcome to the Westveil Archives. My name is Jenna. I am an author-illustrator from Newfoundland, Canada, and this is my booktube/authortube channel. You may also know me from my art channel, Jenna Gets Creative. So today I am going to be doing the coffee book tag, and for once I have actually been tagged. I'm not just doing it for the sake of it. Thank you so much, readWithAnsu, for tagging me. I will have Ansu linked down below. Go check her out. Neither one of us are sure who created this tag. If you know, let us know so I can correct that lack of credit in the description. Before I get started, yes, absolutely, tag me in your tag videos. I would love to do them. It doesn't matter if you're doing them here on YouTube, if you're doing them as a Facebook video, if you're doing them on your blog. If you are doing a book tag and you need people to tag me. I have two conditions. First, if you tag me, I'm allowed to tag you. Second, let me know that I've been tagged. Don't count on me just coming across your video in a timely manner. You can leave a comment here on my channel. You can @ me or DM me on some other platform we're both on. Up to you. Same goes for book and writing related giveaways. If you need to tag somebody for entries, feel free to tag me as long as I'm allowed to tag you too. Before you start these questions, you have to answer the question, do you drink coffee? Yes, I do. Generally not black coffee if I can avoid it. If I want a hot drink, I prefer a mocha, and I do quite regularly make my own mochas at home by putting instant coffee into hot chocolate. And then if the weather's quite a bit hotter and I want a cool drink, I love an iced cappuccino, particularly a Tim Hortons iced cap. Prompt number 1, Black Coffee, a book that's tough to get into but has a die-hard audience. For this one, I'm going to pick Esther Earle's This Star Won't Go Out. By no means am I saying this is a bad book. I am part of the fan base on this. The reason I found it hard to get into is because it's not what I expect out of a book, the format. I read fiction novels, I read short story anthologies, I have read a lot of non-fiction, particularly history, because I did so much studying of history. This is all of the above and none of the above. See, Esther Earle here, she was diagnosed with cancer at age 12, and she didn't live very long after that. But she was a very creative person, she was a very strong person, and she was quite active in the Nerdfighteria group online. If you're not familiar with that, that's just everybody who's fans of John and Hank Green. When she passed, with the help of John Green, her father compiled all of her stuff into this book. So there's her fiction writing in here, there's diary entries, there's photos, there's doodles and sketches. It's a mix of everything. It's a memoir of and by Esther. So hard to get into because it's not really any category that I would know how to read. I think that's also intimidating to a lot of potential readers. But it's worth reading. And of course, all of the nerd fighters in the world are diehard fans of this book. Question 2, Peppermint Mocha, a book that is quite popular during the holidays. I can't hold up this one because it's in my daughter's room and she's asleep. But for this one, I'm going to say The Night Before Christmas by Jen Britt. I'll put it up here. This is the original 'Twas the Night Before Christmas story, rhyme, whatever you want to call it. Beautifully illustrated. My mom always read this one to my sister and I every Christmas Eve, and when my daughter was born and she came out to meet my daughter, one of the days that she was here we went out to different thrift stores picking up a whole bunch of children's books, and she was sure to grab a copy of this one so that I can have that tradition now with my daughter. Question 3, Hot Chocolate, your favorite childhood book. There are so many to choose from, and I'm very tempted to go with those Jedi Apprentice storybooks, middle grade level books that I always reference when talking about childhood reading, but I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to go earlier. This is The Elf and the Dormouse and Other Fairy Stories. It's illustrated by Bob Patillo, not actually written by Bob because these are public domain oldest time fairy tales. With love from Karen, happy 9th birthday. I did remember this was from Karen. This was a birthday gift from the lady who provided daycare services to my mom. It was just a little in-home daycare, so there were never very many kids there, and myself and a boy named Joel, who was a year younger than me, we were her first ever daycare clients, so she was special to us, and we were particularly special to her. And I remember receiving this book. I absolutely love it. The illustrations, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. The illustrations are so gorgeous, and they're just paired with just basic little fairy tale stories and rhymes. And this always captivated me, always captured my imagination, made me want to write, made me want to read more, but it also made me want to be an illustrator because they're beautiful. Look at this one, full spread. This illustration goes with a little poem about a glowworm, but whenever I see it, I think of the Inchworm song that's sung in the Hans Christian Andersen movie. Number 4, Double Shot of Espresso, a book that had you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. Quantum Night by Robert J. Sawyer. This is my absolute favorite hard sci-fi author ever, and he is a Canadian, which is always a perk in my books. I'm Canadian, I like to support Canadian authors. I have met him, I have multiple autographed copies of his books. We've got a team of scientists who are working on this laser beam project. They've unlocked consciousness and morality, basically. The title should give you a clue, Quantum Night. We're dealing with quantum physics here, and consciousness and morality is 2 quantum particles. So quantum particles can either be in superposition or not in superposition, on or off. If a person has 2 consciousness particles off, not in superposition, then they are a philosopher's zombie, and this means that they are going through life on autopilot. They're just your average person. They're neither super good nor super bad, and they don't have an internal monologue. If a person has 1 consciousness particle in superposition, then they are a sociopath. They have that inner monologue, they're a little more awakened, they have more drive, they have more goals, but they don't have a conscience. They don't have that moral compass guiding them. And then you can have people who have both of those consciousness particles in superposition, and those are the internal monologue awakened people with a conscience. And so what the team in this book is doing is they're going to try to shock the whole world through 2 cycles. It's a continuous loop. If you shock 0 balls to 1 ball to 2 balls, and then again you will shock them back, now it just continues. So they figure that they want to shock the whole world all at once, to change everybody all at once, and they want to shock them twice, so that everybody who was not truly awake, all of the philosopher zombies, will be completely awake with a conscience. Everybody who was a sociopath with no morals, they'll be dropped down to autopilot, the philosopher zombies. And everybody who was completely awake and enlightened and has a moral compass, those people will now be the sociopaths. And the idea is that they are best equipped to now be the world's sociopaths because they will remember what it was like to have morality, to have a conscience. And our main character here, he's got gaps in his memory, and he's trying to figure out why, he's trying to figure out what happened. Turns out early experiments were done on him. Number 5, Starbucks, a book that you see everywhere. I'm gonna say 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I haven't read it. I'm not even sure what it's about, but if you look on Bookstagram, and to a lesser extent on Book Twitter and BookTube, you're gonna see people taking photographs of this book and raving about it everywhere, and then saying that you should go on and read the second book, something to do with the crown, or maybe it's the previous book. I don't even know, but that's the book I'm seeing everywhere. Number 6, Hipster Coffee Shop. Give an indie author a shout out. I'm going to shout out 3 authors today. First up, let's shout out Jenna Moresi. She is a fellow author on YouTube. Her channel is Jenna Moresi, or I think she actually changed it to Writing with Jenna Moresi. She's thoroughly an AuthorTube channel, not a BookTube channel. You will not see her reviewing other people's books. This is The Savior's Champion. It is book 1 in the Savior series, which is an adult dark fantasy romance. It's a beast of a book. 555 pages. This book is set in the fictional world of Thesson. It's kind of based on ancient Rome, ancient Greece, that kind of thing. And we have a magical queen type figure called the Savior. The Savior is always a woman, and she always has one daughter. Just one daughter, never more than one, never a boy, only a daughter. And she has magical powers to bless the land and keep the kingdom healthy and happy and safe, ward off wars, all that kind of stuff. And the husband she takes is the sovereign. He's the king of the land. And when their daughter comes of age, turns 20, the Sovereign's Tournament is held. That is a month-long series of challenges where 30 competitors basically fight to the death to be the champion who gets to marry the young savior who has come of age and be the next sovereign. The Savior's Champion follows all of the competitors in the latest Sovereign's Tournament, particularly Tobias. Her latest book, The Savior's Sister, is coming out on September 29th of this year. You can pre-order it, or you can apply to be an ARC reader. I will have links in the description. And that is the companion book to this one, so it doesn't move on in the timeline in the series just yet. It takes place at exactly the same time, but it's Layla's point of view. It is the Savior's court, the Savior's sisters, and everything going on in the palace behind the scenes. You get to find out what's going wrong with this tournament in particular. The second author I am going to shout out is Meg Latorre. Her book, The Cyborg Tinkerer, comes out on November 17th of this year, and I am also on the street team promoting that one. I'm on the street team promoting Jenna. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. The Cyborg Tinkerer is a steampunk. It is a space opera. It is definitely adult. There are quite a few things to trigger warning about. Violence, there's a bit of body horror because they're cyborgs and they have to have implants. There's polygamy, there's LGBTQIA issues, and there is a character with an eating disorder. If you're fine with that, it is an excellent read. I do rate it 5 stars. I have already had the opportunity to read it, and I loved it. I think I should actually tell you what it's about. It's a mysterious traveling cyborg circus in a planetary system where cyborgs are illegal. They're not hunting down existing cyborgs and destroying them or anything like that yet, but it's illegal to make new cyborgs. It's illegal to promote cyborg stuff. All cyborg machinery and technology and know-how has theoretically been destroyed. And we have this traveling circus that touches down in less desirable places in secret so that they can still get jobs and entertain. And at the very beginning, we are recruiting a ship tinkerer who is dying. She's basically given the choice, like, we can save you, but how much are your memories worth to you? Because the cyborgs in this circus forget their human memories, and you gotta do what we say for 13 years. That's the length of your contract. And it turns out there's some pretty shady things going on in this circus. It's a traveling cyborg circus in a place where cyborgs are illegal, and things have gone horribly wrong within the circus itself. Third author I'm going to shout out is Joseph Hargreater. He writes the Knights of Avalon series, and I'm currently beta reading for him. I am beta reading his latest novella, but he does have books available on Amazon if you want to check them out, and I will link his website. Number 7. Oops, I accidentally ordered decaf. A book that you expected more out of. The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This is book 2 in the King Killer Chronicles trilogy. The first one was The Name of the Wind. The Name of the Wind was absolutely amazing, breath of fresh air in the high fantasy category. This one was highly anticipated. It took him 4 years to put this out, even though he said that when his first book was picked up, he actually had a working draft for the rest of the trilogy. Kvothe, see, in the first book, Kvothe spends so much of his time at the university learning about all the different types of magic that he's interested in and trying to learn about the demons that killed his family that Chandrian. And we kind of expected more of that. In The Wise Man's Fear, we spent so much time not in the university. We spent so much time following Kvothe around other parts of this world. We spent way too many chapters having sex with a fairy. It is really not a bad book. It's quite a good book, but it didn't fulfill expectations after the first one. I hope that it's a case of middle book syndrome. We may never know. It's been 9 years since this one and 13 years since the first one, and we don't have book 3 yet. I've mentioned and ranted about that before. Everybody is wanting Sanderson to finish it if Rothfuss never does. People compare the writing to Sanderson. People think that Sanderson can do justice to one like this. Oh look, I found another very old Vancouver bus ticket. But I personally know that Rothfuss is a huge fan of Jim Butcher, and if he is unable to finish and he has to designate somebody to finish his work, he's probably going to designate Jim Butcher. I love Jim Butcher. He doesn't write this kind of high fantasy. I much prefer Jim Butcher for his Dresden books, and I haven't read his steampunk series yet. I'm going to have the ebook. Number 8, final question, A Perfect Blend. A series that is both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. I'm only holding up one book because how do you hold up the Discworld series? I don't even have that many of them. The rest of them are right here. Like, they don't take up that much space on my shelf yet. I do intend to read the whole series eventually. If you're not familiar with Discworld, you need to be. This is high fantasy and it's humorous. Most of these books are funny. I would say it falls under the bitter and sweet category because some of them are sad. There are some very heartbreaking stories in this world as well, but most of them are funny and they're wonderful. If you're not too sure about Terry Pratchett and you've never read him before, but you're a fan of Neil Gaiman, they did co-write Good Omens, which has a miniseries on Amazon Prime, which was excellent. So you can check that one out as a gateway to Terry Pratchett if you're interested. Everybody is welcome to do this book tag. Obviously, it's a tag, do it if you want, but since I am now asking people to tag me, and I'm asking people if you're interested in being tagged, I'm going to tag people. I've got a list of names. I'm just going to randomly tag a few people each time. So if you're not tagged in this one and you've recently told me you want to be tagged, don't worry, your name's coming. Today I tag Kira Can Read, Rise Reading Corner, Bearded Bookworm, and Suhkroop and Books. So I will be letting you guys know on Twitter or Instagram, and I do expect to see you guys doing this tag if you haven't done it already. And if you have already done it, sorry for the double tag. Maybe Ansu got to you first. I don't know. See you on Monday, guys.